Xiaomi Poco M4 Pro review. Best budget phone of 2022. Poco phones traditionally give you a high degree of all-round multimedia competence for a budget price, and the Xiaomi Poco M4 Pro is no different. Despite what the name might suggest, the Poco M4 Pro is much more than just a Poco M4 Pro 5G with the next-gen network connectivity lopped off. It's a surprisingly different package, from its design to its display, and from its camera to its CPU. Let's not mince words here. The Poco M4 Pro is flat out the superior phone to its 5G brother and should be the preferred pick for anyone willing to forego the very fastest network speeds. Like the Poco M4 Pro 5G, the Poco M4 Pro does a pretty good impression of a flagship phone. Catch a quick glance of the phone lying face down on a table, and you might just be convinced into thinking that it's worth 3 times its asking price. Interestingly, Poco has mixed that rear design up a little from the 5G model. And I'm not just talking about the glossier, more reflective finish. While the latter goes with a vertical camera module sat within a flat black block, the 4G model gives you a whole extended camera module that spans most of the width of the phone. At 8.1 mm thick and 179.5 grams, it's slimmer and lighter than the 5G model. Together with the phone's smaller display, more on that in a bit, it's a relatively pocketable phone. There are only 3 colors on offer with the Poco M4 Pro, but there's quite a dramatic difference between the sober power black model I tested and the vibrant Poco yellow model that you see in the press materials. There's also a cool blue version that falls somewhere in between these 2 poles. The display used on the Poco M4 Pro is completely different to the 5G model. It's slightly smaller at 6.4 inches, versus 6.6 inches, but it's by no means small, and it packs the same 2400 by 1800 Full HD Plus resolution. Both screens have 90 Hz refresh rates, though they default to 60 Hz. You also get a 180 Hz tough sampling rate with the M4 Pro, which means it's nice and responsive for fast-paced action games. But the main talking point here is the switch to AMOLED panel technology, the first of its kind to appear in Poco's M series, no less. This makes the Poco M4 Pro screen infinitely more vibrant than the Poco M4 Pro 5G's LCD, with greater dynamic range, deeper blacks, and purer whites. I recorded a peak brightness of 428 nits with auto brightness switched off, but Xiaomi claims that it can hit a full 1000 nits with auto brightness switched on. That's effectively flagship level with even the Xiaomi 12 quoted at 1100 nits. While the Poco M4 Pro 5G runs on the Mediatek Dimensity 810, the Poco M4 Pro runs on the Mediatek Helio G96. This latter chip is built using an older and less efficient 12 nm process, versus 6 nm, and it's the same processor that runs the Redmi Note 11S and the Realme 8i. The Poco M4 Pro features a triple camera system led by a 64MP sensor, which is the first of its type to make an appearance in the M series. The 5G model, for the record, utilizes a 50MP sensor. By default, the camera takes 16MP shots using 4-in-1 pixel binning, but you can opt to go all in with 64MP shots if you so wish. This main sensor is backed by an 8MP ultra-wide and a 2MP macro sensor. And yes, the latter is as pointless here as it is almost everywhere else. Image quality is pretty decent, at least when fed with plenty of light. Color reproduction is nice and natural, with little in the way of over-processed punching up. There's no telephoto here, so the phone crops in using the main sensor. Having a higher megapixel count helps, with less of a drastic drop in detail, provided you don't examine those shots too closely. This might be where you want the full 64MP. The Poco M4 Pro is powered by a 5000 mAh battery. That's nice and large, but also pretty typical of phones in this pricing category. As with other budget contenders, it's good for a full day of heavy usage and potentially a full 2 days of light to moderate usage. What's interesting is that the Poco M4 Pro performs slightly better than the M4 Pro 5G in our standard battery test. Running the PCMark Work 3.0 battery benchmark, which simulates a phone's battery performance under a sustained but mixed load, the Poco M4 Pro lasted 10 hours and 56 minutes, compared to 10:39 for the 5G. The Poco M4 Pro runs on MIUI 13 layered on top of Android 11. It's still not the most appealing Android skin, with its gauche icons and the full-page notification that pops up every time you install an app. It's simple enough to use, though, with Google Feed to the left and an iOS-like split between the control center and notification pane. This can be deactivated according to your preference, of course. The Poco M4 Pro is available now at a starting price of £189 for 6GB of RAM and 128GB of storage. The 8GB, 256GB model is being offered for £249, 6 128ths of a gigabyte minus £189 for €219, 8 256ths of a gigabyte minus £249 for €269. This puts the Poco M4 Pro in roughly the same pricing category as the Poco M4 Pro 5G. Remember, though, that you get more storage and RAM for your money.